Everyone else is out there craving alligator meat. This sixer just went and burgled the house. Look at these crocodile eggs. Enough to feed him for days. Mother Crocodile would be crazy if she saw this. I wonder how the eggs taste. Does it smell better than my tea eggs? The challenge is only 8 days old. Stephen felt like his head was going to explode. The team has gone home to enjoy the feast. I have to go on starving myself. I've been looking for food for a long time. I do have an idea about this hollow tree. I thought there was something precious in there. Turns out I was just playing the drums. I think we got what we deserved. Vaz also faced the challenge alone. The team was probably too excited to catch the fish. Get all your asthma out. What can he say? After all, it's not easy for everyone. There's something wrong with my feet. I don't know if I'm going home today. What's his plan, you ask? Nothing more than catching fish and chopping firewood to sleep. Given his size, starving for 10 days is not a problem. Just got a little bit of a taste for crocodiles. Still familiar river. The fish can't wait to get in his mouth. Vaz says don't worry. He's already preparing the bait for the feed. Just a sudden thunderstorm coming. More or less also makes people feel speechless. Start with the whole little fish. It's going to rain and you're not going home. Just stay in your belly tonight. See if we can hang out again. Dan's side is used to doing it alone, getting ready to fix the roof again. If I knew my teammates were moving that fast, just build a smaller shelter. Now, Perfect is really tired. You need to climb high to collect materials. That would be sisters if you fell. I thought it would be okay to be careful. And the ants up there came rushing like crazy. I don't suppose he's trying to feed the queen. Get out of here as soon as you're done with the materials. Oh, the good Lord has thrown a punch. I was really afraid I wouldn't fall. Fortunately, there was no accident. There'd be fewer people left on the field. The women's group has the most people. Food resources are also the most abundant. But there are different voices within the group. Contradictions that are becoming more and more frequent. Like yesterday, Amber said to collect firewood. Triss is going to make that bed if she doesn't listen, resulting in a lack of firepower last night. Everyone shivered with cold. I don't know what to say, if I can get my teammates to leave. She took Trish first. This kind of fun-loving food is hard to get along with. Now it's raining before we start collecting firewood. Trish still thinks it's okay. Now, just collect more points. I don't like Amber telling me what to do. And now it's just Jenny and the other two. How hard it can be to make a fire. Trish says she just needs her hands. There's enough wood to burn all night. If we go on like this, we are afraid of fighting. Gas fishing that is getting more and more skilled. And the fish are getting smaller and smaller. It really pissed him off. Why can't the big fish go home and play? Get home while the rain's still good. Stephen hurried back to the shelter. There's less and less food around. We're going to have to move sometime. Dan took the collected leaves and stuffed them. Waterproof measures have been made both inside and outside. It wouldn't make sense if it was leaking. Suddenly a tree fell outside. Boy, I'm glad I didn't get out. This is God's firewood. That would have saved me a lot of work. Gas's foot was uncomfortable in the first place. Working in such an environment, it's like torturing myself. If only my teammates were still around. At least you don't have to do it all. Sometimes the fish can be eaten raw. It's a real hassle to deal with. But as you can tell, it tastes even better when baked. This white fish, you don't get a thumbnail when you eat. There's just a little parasite in there. It should be safe once it's gone. More than anything else, Share the joy of sharing. It's a little lonely to be alone. Unless I can get a crock roast. I wonder if anyone got to hunt this season. The girls stay in the shelter and chat. They're guessing how many people will drop out of the challenge, according to their own situation. Maybe someone from each team will go home sick. At least 3 have given up. That's a good analysis, except the reality is harsher. The other teams faced their difficulties alone. I wonder when it all came together. The thunderstorm intensified during the night. The wind keeps blowing in with rain. Vaz felt that it was cold. The shelter is not a very good structure. Not getting wet from the rain. I shall not add this to myself. I think it's exhausting. I barely made it to day 9. Vaz hardly slept at all. It's a little cold when it rains. But at least you don't have to deal with mosquitoes. They started going crazy again after the rain stopped. Now, my body is itching like crazy. It's a similar story on the women's side. The mosquitoes were forced out by the rain. Every day is either being bitten or on the way to being bitten. I'm really going to give Emo his ass. It's wet all around. Steven wasn't in a good mood. See the poles still fall. That's an output for the camera. Let's just say it's very high. Now we need to gather materials to complete the shelter. Try to get a good night's sleep next time it rains. Roof material can still be found. It's just a little tiring to carry. It's going to take at least 7 or 8 trips. That's just a base to build on. To make it waterproof, you need palm leaves on top. It's a big job just by hearing it. That's it for the day. We need to take a break. Trish was freezing last night. It's not easy doing things Amber's way. But the shelter does need to be perfect. Amber thinks there's something wrong with his teammates' brain circuits. You could have backed yourself up. It doesn't hurt to win in bed. Jenny watched the atmosphere grow more and more awkward. She just wants to hide in the corner and not talk. The team seems to be working well together. It's just what it looks like. There are a lot of palm leaves nearby. The only thing left is the high one. If not, there will be an accident. I almost punctured my pectoral muscle. She was a little out of breath in the pain. If it were a male player, I'm afraid the little brother is moving on the spot. The photographer has no skill in this shot. It's all emotion, getting comfortable with the boys again. Amber doesn't know how to describe it, does she? Just be careful, anyway. Put all this on top. Said to plug all the gaps. Looks like a lot of sunlight is leaking in from the inside. It's going to take a lot of time to get this right. Let's just hope Trish knows a thing or two. Dan didn't sleep very well. Dry inside is dry, but it was a terrible bed to lie in. I had tomatoes before I came. Unload as soon as you're here on purpose. The seeds inside are intact, as long as you handle it well. Maybe a little tomato before the challenge is over. I don't know if that's a foul. Let's just say Dan's got a smart little head. Some seeds have successfully germinated. This would be an important step in changing the challenge. Dude, didn't I watch Wilderness Survival? What brings you to the wilderness farm? Do you know anything else that can do that? Now the mood is so good. I don't think anyone's ever done a garden like this before. He gave a try. If this works, the show's gonna have a headache. The dirt around the gas was wet. Walk up that is biting especially carefully, apart from the fear of falling. And be careful not to get sucked in. It took a lot of work to get to the river. What do we have to do today with a whole fish? Eat small fish every day, don't you want to face? I wonder if it's the rain. The previously active fish are gone. Tell me, you don't even have little fish to eat. The girls have collected a lot of firewood today, enough to last 2 or 3 days. Amber suggested looking for crocodiles, even a baby crocodile. There's enough to feed everyone for days. It's a pretty good deal. This side of the pond is full of water lilies. Forget about getting your hands on food, unless you're willing to clean this place up. Otherwise, I have to go far to catch fish every day. That's a lot of energy going back and forth. Amber keeps drawing cookies and saying how great it is. It kind of freaked out Trish. After a brief discussion, it was decided to build a pier and get the raft out of the way. Even if no crocodiles come over here, you can also fish and eat here. It's definitely better than going to the river. Maybe we can cut this tree down. According to the Pythagorean theorem, we're halfway there. And clear a platform next to it. Then it won't be a problem to keep fish up there. The question is how long it takes 3 women. I'm afraid the knife will be ruined. The worst thing is the angle isn't right. Throw it at the photographer. It's kind of a work-related injury. We're going to take turns cutting for hours every day until the tree falls smoothly. Amber takes a swiveling chop. Cut it down in every place for a while. Not only can reduce the physical consumption, can also adjust to determine the direction of fall. People are very motivated. You don't know what you're saying. It doesn't feel like cutting down a tree, more like chopping up someone nasty. Dan is so tired right now. It takes a lot of time every day to cut and carry firewood. There's another step after the rain. The wood should be dried. It's not going to hold the flame. The challenge is less and less hope. You had to get up at night to add firewood. You really haven't had much rest. In the process of collecting firewood, it's also the process of finding food. I was hoping for another snake. I didn't expect the scorpion down there. You get out of here quickly. Dan wasn't even sure it was a scorpion. Now the soles of my feet are burning. It shouldn't be so toxic that it's life-threatening, but it's painful and numb to walk. It's not a very pleasant look. I'd rather be stung by a bee. This scorpion is quite venomous. The toe is swollen. You have to eat it next time. At night, the animals in the women's group came alive. It's going to make you cry. We should have a bonfire party. Invite them to dance in the fire. I can't imagine how sweet it would smell. I suddenly found a frog walking to my door. You know, this is the Amazon. He's got something to show for it. Trish just grabbed it with her hands. Scared the shit out of Frog. These liquids are not to be touched. I'd have lost my eye on the spot. As for whether it's toxic or not, they're not worried at all, as long as it's cooked anyway. Some meat shouldn't be a problem. The challenge continues on day 11. Trish wakes up looking at the frog. There's no problem at all with the calf strap. There's liquid on the floor from last night. I can still smell it now. It's a good thing they didn't eat it right after they caught it. I'm afraid we're going to get all poisoned and carted off. Where Trish touched yesterday, it's all white already. It could be psychological. It's a little tingling right now. Amber's advice is not to eat the frog. If there is a problem, we won't even have time to get to a hospital. Trish says she's no pussy either. I just thought the frog was ugly. That's how you put a frog on someone else's side. I hope the hand will be all right. Stephen went into the jungle. There's very little visibility. You can't tell what's hidden here. He continued walking in one direction. I didn't expect to find a river. There are a lot of crocodiles here. If only my teammates were still around. At least one person can help. He's been dealing with crocodiles since he was a kid. Know how to cook it best. It's easy to catch. Just keep your mouth shut. It's a chance to have your own barbecue freedom. The women's team decided to speed things up. We're going to take the tree down today. It's already shaking a little. Jenny told Amber to stop. There's a hornet's nest over the tree. Man, if this comes down, I'm afraid the whole crew's going to get stung. That's a long time to be cutting. How can you just give up? Just pray they don't get revenge when it falls. Amber talks every time Tracy cuts down a tree. She really doesn't like it. Or you can do it yourself. Or shut your little mouth and be quiet. The conflict between the two is getting bigger and bigger. It's like two powder kegs. It goes off at one. Trish knows how to cut a tree and redirect it. Okay. You don't need anyone there to direct you. It took a lot of time. I finally heard a crack. We just have to wait for it to fall. I didn't think they'd pull it off. The tree fell down. Question, what about the bees? They're running around like crazy. You have to hit the nest to the other side. Fortunately, the pole here is long enough. Just cut the nest in half. This makes the hornets even crazier. I don't know if I stung anyone. Amber's been whooshing around anyway. Amber was stung somewhere. It's burning everywhere anyway. Teammates rushed forward to clean up. Amber just wants to cool off in the water. The pain is exaggerated. Trish is still making sarcastic remarks. I think Amber brought this on herself. It wasn't supposed to break in the middle. So what do you do with the rest of it? The challenge continues on day 12. Dan will now reignite the fire. The wet material really sucks. Put a lot of time and effort into it. I was kind of optimistic, but been here too long. You know, people are getting emo. We need a change of mood. I hope I can find something to eat. Dan's sense of direction isn't very good, only that the river is on the right. So try not to turn as much as possible. As stupid as it sounds, but it's the simplest and most effective. And look at the women's side. Today's task is very simple. That is to clean up the hornet's nest. It looks a lot better now. There are still some bees that don't want to go. Fire ants from the trees are also joining in. This bite is worse than a wasp sting. Neither is to be messed with. Can only be tested with a remote attack. Boy, you can't even hit it from this close range. So mad that Trish threw out the firewood. Amber immediately put an end to the ruin. You want to know how long this piece will last? There's plenty more to throw around. Don't be such a jerk. Trish was in a very unhappy mood. In the end, it has to be the long pole. Keep beating hard on top of the nest. There were hardly any hornets in sight. A little too much for the fire ants. You need to be a little careful. Just get the docks built. The days ahead will get better and better. How about we go over there first? Tracy thinks Amber's too confident, even trying to control people's minds. That's not leadership anymore. It should be called bossy. She's taking Jenny with her. Amber, it's not easy being a captain. Stephen, no food found. I found some water vines. These are very valuable resources in the wild. Do not touch directly while drinking, or you get a sausage mouth. The smell of nature feels so good. The expedition was not fruitful. I have to get home before dark. I get a headache just thinking about it. Finally, go around here and see what you got. Dan didn't get much through the jungle. The sun is warmer at higher elevations. The adventure did not go well. Vaz thinks it's getting colder in here. The shelter still needs to be upgraded. He was just about to look good for the camera. I didn't realize fire ants wanted eggs. It lifted his spirits in an instant. Just a little distraction, really. I don't think anyone thought of it. Dan will come to the gas. The brothers were able to come together. Both sides are one man down. This challenge is really not for the average person. They all suspect that the others have been eliminated. Dan thought he could live together. He has succeeded in getting a lot of food. There's also steady access to food from the pond. And most importantly, a tomato garden. It's definitely more comfortable than here. And Vaz needs a partner. Lonely days oneself is fed up. Old teammates left behind a lot of gear. Take all this over there. Start a new family. Both men are confident of the challenge. The girls will start gathering materials to build the dock. The trees selected this time were easy to cut. Just a quick chop. Tristan helped cut down the tree. Instead, they're preparing a fishing net. That's a high level of tenacity. Not even piranha teeth. She is confident that everyone can eat until they are full. Jenny's had a good time cutting down the tree. I just didn't pick the right angle. Blocked by other trees. Instead of cutting down another tree. Might as well try to pry it. Amber tried every angle. A little loose, but not much. Two people discussed the meeting and no results. I wish Trish could help with the fishing, so they can continue to dive into the tree. Amber seems to be asking. That's where you give orders. Trish didn't really want to talk. She's going to take care of the net. Amber thought there must be nothing wrong with her. She was too small. In this way, the conflict between the two becomes more intense. Dan took Vaz back to camp. This can be said of all the groups. It's the most beautiful and comfortable thing ever built. Gas fell in love with it instantly. Dan wasn't deluding himself. We're going to stay here and die together. The nearby resources are better than before. He can't wait to go fishing there. Still got to be careful around the docks. After all, gas is a heavyweight. It will be fun to stand on it and crack. Finally gave up standing on the dock. Looks like we're going to have to work on that. It would have been awkward at the gas station. Dan took him to see the tomato garden, even though there's nothing there right now. But they love the process. The biggest takeaway from this adventure, just being able to get a partner back. I can arrange the heavy work in the future. The challenge continues on day 13. Steven's been poking around, hoping to see something different compared to when we first arrived. That's all the fat we have left. All I want to see right now is a crocodile come ashore. If I could eat it whole, he could be happy for a long time. Suddenly found the wreckage here. If I'm not mistaken, must be the happy home of the crocodile. If they see themselves stealing, it's going to hit me like crazy. Steven wasted no time groping deeper. A big egg is nice. What happens to egg fried rice? 9 crocodile eggs were found. It's really hard, crocodile mom. Now I'm bringing it back to help hatch it. The perfect place for him. It's either in the pot or over the fire. You need enough heat to hold it. Then he took out some eggs. I hope Mama Alligator comes over. After all, the most important thing for a family is to be neat. Steven will head back to the hatch now. The more Vaz looks at Dan's shelter, the happier he gets. There's plenty of room in there. Everyone's stuff can be on display. The two get along very well. Materials that couldn't be moved before. Now someone can help carry it. He likes strong, powerful men. This wood is a little heavy. Had to cut off a piece and carry it away. Although it was said to have the help of gas. But you still have to wear people out. It looks like a surfboard. Now is not the time to lie back. It needs to be cleaned up. That's quite a lot of dirt nearby. Just mix it up and pinch it. That's enough to fill in the gaps. It was done in a moment. The next thing is to catch some fish to eat. The best thing is to put a lot of bait on the hook. Otherwise, it's hard to get the fish. There are currently 4 hooks working. Just 1 fish a day. The challenge is easy. Steven's life now is a comfortable one. You can order crocodile eggs on the hour when you're hungry. You don't need to do anything. Just put it in the pan and cook it. It kind of looks like a bigger goose egg. It tastes like eggs. It just smells a little bit better. It had been a long time since he had eaten such delicious food. You know, it's harder to spot than a crocodile. I have a lot of luck. Triss is going to try her hand at the net. See if he can get the fish out. Amber thinks she might as well use fishing line. She's so inefficient. As soon as you pull it, you say it's up. That's when Triss realized the net was broken. Plus, it was small to begin with. The success rate is woefully low. And the best part is Amber brought a fish to show off. The team atmosphere was eerily quiet. The challenge continued on day 14. The first thing Vaz does when he wakes up is check his fishing line. No surprises, another day in the Air Force. There are a lot of fish out here, but no fish wants bait. Have they become vegetarian lately? I can't count on the fish anymore. Might as well try hunting a vulture. It's hovering right around the trap site. It's not that hard to make a trap. Actually, we drill a hole, then stick the branches into it. As long as a bird wants bait, the noose will grab it right away. Thought that was pretty good. I don't know if the vultures will give you face. Triss thinks she's okay with the idea. Just readjust the gap. I'm sure I'll be able to catch the fish. Amber thinks we still have to finish the dock, or Trish will keep doing it. It is difficult for both sides to act amicably together. Triss doesn't think she's wrong. Now I have Ginny on my side. I think it's more about Amber. Everything goes at your own pace, you know? Sometimes it is really helpless to meet such teammates. Amber can't count on them anymore. She's going to bring the tree down. I mean, it's hard to deal with myself, but it's better than spending time with your teammates. Get rid of the trees that are in the way. A few moments later, I heard a cracking sound. It turns out he was right. The problem is that it is not completely down. Amber's got a really bad headache, and Triss is a cricket in camp. She admitted Amber had some strength, but it wasn't fun at all. Amber just wants to do her own thing. We finally got the trees down here. Triss is not giving a damn about it. Amber was a little too upset to cry. While Vaz and Dan were out exploring, I accidentally found a strange fruit. It tastes a little bit like coconut. It was quite delicious to drink. I wonder if anyone recognizes this. I wonder how it tastes. Suddenly, I heard a noise at the trap. The vultures are just hovering over there. The problem is not landing at the trap. Isn't that bait smelly enough? Finally, the vulture couldn't resist standing up. When it looked like it was going to happen, another vulture moves in. The bait was eaten clean. The trap has to be rearranged. Dan thought if he stayed a few more seconds, I could grab a bow and hunt myself. Let's just say there was a bit of bad luck. Amber felt tired. My teammates didn't listen. I like to do what I want to do. She didn't want to go on like this. I was hoping I could talk to Trish. And no matter what Amber says, Trish doesn't even want to talk. She will complete the challenge at her own pace. No one else needs to be there to give orders. Amber thinks she's experienced. Is the advice not better than yours? Both sides are getting more and more excited. I'm afraid they're going to start fighting. Who knows what will happen next? Let's wait and see.